Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special bonus episode of the Cinematic Schematic Podcast, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and in today's special bonus episode, we'll be talking with the one, the only, my co-host at the Cinematropolis, Laron Chapman. By the way, thing about Laron Chapman, that he is the head of Pride Programming over at the deadCenter Film Festival. So Laron and I are going to be sitting down for a one-on-one talking about what you can expect from this year's deadCenter Film Festival, the 25th deadCenter. Big deal. Big year for all of us here in Oklahoma in terms of filmmakers, film lovers. The film festival runs from Wednesday, June 11th to Sunday, June 15th. So if you're listening to this today, that is this week. Good news is passes are still available at deadcenterfilm.org, and you can also purchase individual tickets if you just have one or two movies you want to check out from the schedule. So again, at the Cinematropolis, we, as you know, if you're long-time listeners, you're going to know, we love talking with people at the festival. We love talking about the festival every year. So we're going to continue the tradition of covering deadCenter as Oklahoma's biggest film festival dedicated to inspiring, promoting, and celebrating creativity and community through film, especially here in Oklahoma City. And if you head to thecinematropolis.com throughout the festival, you're going to be able to read written essays from an amazing, crazy talented team of correspondents we have here. You know, I like to think of like the who's writing of Oklahoma film writers. And that is, of course, Daniel Bodekemper, Joe Light, and Christopher Schultz. And if you subscribe to the Cinematic Schematic Podcast, we are going to have a recap episode that we'll be publishing after the festival as well. With that said, enough with all this table setting. Let's welcome my co-host, the head of Pride Programming at the deadCenter Film Festival, Laron Chapman. Laron, welcome, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, bright Saturday. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, the Saturday before deadCenter.
Rainy Saturday morning.
Yes.
You know.
It's kind of nice. It's not hotter than all get out right now, which is typical of this time of year, especially right before deadCenter. So
exactly. It's the calm before the storm, as they say.
How are you feeling today, Laron?
I'm feeling good. And, we're on the home stretch and, anticipating, a really exciting new year for us. 25 years is nothing to wince at, in terms of festivals, especially with one that's ever evolving and growing like deadCenter. So we're very excited that, that we've come this far and that every year it just gets better and better. So,
well, I for one, just want to say thank you for all the work that you and the rest of the team, several people we've had on the show in the past, all working super hard. Kevin Ely, Paris Burris, Cam Rojas, a lot of amazingly talented film lovers, filmmakers out there contributing. So thank you for all the work you and the team have done.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I know they would appreciate that. Yeah, it's our pet. It's our pet. It's a little child in a way. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's half of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do spend, whether I'm in my real life, professional life, personal life, whatever, this always permeates somewhere in there, because it's year round, even when we're not at this critical moment where everything's about to get cooking, so.
Get cooking indeed. Well, Laron, you said it already. 25 years of the deadCenter Film Festival. Huge milestone year. That's a quarter of a century. Mm-hmm. That is older than probably a decent chunk of people listening to this podcast. So I have to ask the question, just before we get into all the logistics and programming combos, what has the deadCenter Film Festival meant to you personally in your journey as a film lover, filmmaker, and even programmer here in Oklahoma?
Well, I would say as a film lover, it's very much expanded my creative horizons by exposing me to an array of different cultural perspectives through the art of film, as well as serving as inspiration as to what is possible with a little bit of imagination, hard work, and perseverance. So, you see these kinds of festivals on, online or on television, or about Sundance, about these big ones. But when you attend them, it's truly like nothing else if you're a film lover. If you're a purist, if you're the kind of person that frequents the movie theater a lot and you like the art house movies and you like the weird, avant-garde and kind of out there kind of stuff, it's nice to be in an environment, in a community of people all there because they truly want to be. You're not going to have to worry about people talking during the movies because everyone's locked in for the art. You know what I mean? So it's just a different vibe than when you go to if you go to a Transformers movie or something like that, you're going to hear lots of chatter and murmurs. But here you're going to see people truly just invested in the craft. And so so as a film lover, that's what I would say. As a filmmaker, this particular festival literally kind of springboarded my career as a filmmaker here in the state by kind of giving me a platform to introduce myself to Oklahoma's film community and build connections with the local industry here. When my film You People won at the festival in 2018, I was celebrated not just for the movie being impactful to the people that got to see it, but also for me just being an open, honest person about my own identity and being kind of a voice and advocate for those communities that I come from. So I really appreciate, the kind of space that they've given me, to really thrive in that. And then as a programmer, I just feel very blessed, with the opportunity to continue that advocacy by providing some much needed representation for the Black community and the LGBTQIA community, and sharing their stories with our festival audience. So it's been important to me in a wide range of ways. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's beautifully said, and I am so thankful that this festival exists, gives people like you an avenue, a place to do all the things you just mentioned, enjoy watching movies with people who appreciate movies in the same manner that you do. As a filmmaker, a place to get to know other people, a platform to present your work, and then as a programmer, I mean, you kind of get to see a who's who of Oklahoma filmmakers kind of passing through. You're not just watching a couple of movies; you're getting to see all of the awesome talent that's sort of filtering through the submission. So,
absolutely, yeah.
It's I know for myself, deadCenter has certainly been a hub for which to kind of help foster film criticism here in Oklahoma. Getting to talk more with filmmakers about the craft, and it's been really exciting to see. This is actually my 10th year covering the festival, and the first year I just showed up. I was just writing for another website, and then I just wasn't really doing a lot of interviews, but getting more involved. And getting to talk with all the filmmakers, seeing the resources come in, and how a lot of success begets success for a lot of the talented filmmakers who we've seen coming through the festival, has been really exciting. It's to see this sort of how this the film industry has grown over the 10 years I've been attending, and deadCenter kind of gives it like we're all kind of film critics are over here doing our thing, filmmakers are doing their thing, and then deadCenter kind of brings us all together.
It's an intersection, and it feels like you kind of get to see how the sausage is made for everybody, and what everybody contributes to the table. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's a great place. If you love film in Oklahoma, I mean, it's a great place. And I guess the last thing I should say, I've made a lot of friends through deadCenter, so it's a great place to come and meet new friends. I mean, I think, Joe, Dan, and Chris, I don't think I met them through deadCenter, but working together on deadCenter stuff, we've all gotten a lot closer over the years. I think this is probably for some of them, like their 5th or 6th year covering for me. So, it just means a lot to hit the team here at the Cinematropolis as well. With that said, Laron, let's get a little more into like what folks can expect here. So maybe for people who are not familiar or haven't checked out the website yet, where is the festival going to be located this year?
So we're located kind of in multiple venues here in Oklahoma City, but just to name a few, Harkins Theater in downtown Bricktown is actually going to be where the bulk of the films that you're going to see are going to be playing. But in addition to that, we have the Oklahoma Contemporary, which is also going to serve as our hub for people to do like passes, registration, as well as a varied events that will be taking place there as well. Rodeo Cinema, Stockyards, and Film Row. Both of these are going to be venues screening some films as well.
Listeners, just a quick note. Make sure when if you pick a movie that's at Rodeo Cinema, please make sure to verify which Rodeo Cinema, because you don't want to be like me and go to the wrong one and then have to drive happens. Like a maniac to the other one.
It happens every year. You hear Rodeo Cinema, we got to get the branding different, but yes, absolutely. They're two distinctly different spaces. They're pretty close to each other by about
it's about 5-minute drive.
5-minute drive or so, but if you're in the wrong place, you're in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. Also, the Oklahoma City Museum of Art will be screening some things. And also the First American Museum. So these are all venues and places, the primary venues and places that you'll see events, parties, all different various things happening, and obviously all the movies that are screening.
Awesome. Wonderful. Again, keeping I also think another thing that's kind of neat is I do think you guys do a great job at showing off all the actual theater venues that are in downtown, because a lot of people might just think, oh, Bricktown, the Harkins, that's it. It's like,
Right.
well, no, there's actually all these other smaller theaters. Frankly, that all have like a very distinct aesthetic and vibe to them.
Each one.
And exactly. And I love all of them. Like, if you go to the Film Row location for Rodeo Cinema, it's very small and intimate. If you go to like the MOA, for example, it feels very prestige-y. And then the First Americans Museum also kind of has like kind of an interesting kind of balance between like the intimacy, but also like a little bit more of the what's the word, prestige that you might get from MOA. So anyway, great. I just love that you guys are showcasing and hopefully introducing folks to more theater venues downtown.
Absolutely. That is the goal.
Yes. So, okay, 25 years. I imagine you guys probably have a few surprises or extra fun parties up your sleeve, or ways to celebrate 25 years specifically. Walk me through those.
Yeah, so this year we have a 5-day lineup as opposed to our traditional 4-day lineup. We needed it to actually incorporate more stuff. And 25 years is a big anniversary, so we decided to add an additional day, which means a lot more coordinating and planning and all those things. But also it means a lot more things for people to do. We have 30 world premieres this year.
Wow.
Features, including features and shorts. And we also have a record number of Oklahoma films this year. I think the final number that we tallied up was about 38. We have 6 free community screenings that do not require passes. They're free to the public. And then we have 21 multi-genre short film blocks, literally something for everybody's taste. We even have a block called Something for Everyone, so just to put the meta, stop on it. And then also we're going to have an outdoor screening at OK Contemporary as well. So that's just a good, chunk of the things that are going to be happening.
So you're telling me there's going to be movies?
There are going to be movies on movies, guys. So many movies.
Very cool. No shortage of options. That's an incredible amount of shorts blocks at world premieres. The shorts blocks, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to call out, like, the shorts blocks, they don't just, that's a lot of shorts to watch and sort through. So the fact that you guys are able to get them all in so many different blocks, man, so many choices, so many films to watch. Now, I know, of course, another longstanding tradition of deadCenter is the Icon Awards that you guys present each year. I know you guys have announced the Icon winners for this year. What are some of the, and icons, for those who are not familiar, these are people who have either done tremendous things in Oklahoma or for Oklahoma film industry. Folks like we had James Marsden did it one year, but you also have things like
we've had Alfred Woodard.
Yeah,
just several. Yeah, many different. Many people have come through the state. Ryan Belgard. We have Ryan Merriman for you Disney fans. Lots of people that have either in some way contributed to film and are native to Oklahoma, or are actively doing things within the community here for film and art, and so we like to celebrate that, and also just to expose people to, the people who are bringing all this content or coverage or what have you of all these things happening. And so this year we're honoring a well-known local actor, Adam Hampton.
He's like if he doesn't show up in at least one or 2 films at deadCenter each year, your bingo card's not complete.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. He's your George Clooney or your grizzled. I can't think of any actor that who's your everyday man that just is malleable to so many different genres. He's obviously played in things like our local franchise here, the Jurassic Games, a movie that I co-starred in, Hell Hath No Fury, and Out of Exile. We're also honoring actress Haley McFarlane, who was featured in The Conjuring, Gilmore Girls, and has a couple of films in the festival as well. We're also going to honor Amy Scott, who's a director of what we're screening this year, the Counting Crows documentary called Have You Seen Me Lately? Very
excited about that one.
Her previous things she's done, she did a documentary about Sheryl Crow, country music singer, and Hal Ashby. So this seems to be like a trend where she's highlighting different artists in a very more exhaustive way.
They're very tremendous documentaries too. Like I really loved the Hal Ashby one she brought a couple of years ago. Still, I mean, I just learned a lot about I've heard that name, and then you watch the documentary, like, holy cow, there's this whole world and life that the contribution they've made to our culture. It's very cool stuff.
Absolutely, and and I'm a huge fan of the Counting Crows. That goes all the way back to the '90s for me with like movies like Cruel Intentions and things like that. So that'll be a fun one, a nostalgic one for people who enjoy their music. And we also did like an Icon Community Award for our mayor here.
Mayor David Holt. We talked to them last year, so we decided it's time to give him an Icon Award. He's
just such a like accessible person.
Yes.
For somebody who works in politics, in the state. And it's just nice to see that he is at every community event. Like you can see him, shake his hand, and the amount of people that, if I see him, he knows who you are.
He's a huge champion for, obviously for Oklahoma City, but that's the thing. He could phone it in on some of this stuff. No, he actually shows up at the film festival, watches the movies.
He walked in the Pride Parade this past weekend, wow. He's there. He's at the Black Lives Matter movements. He's everywhere, so. He's at the film premieres that come here in the state, and he goes to deadCenter. So he's a champion for the arts and community in general at large, and so that's just a lovely thing to have in a state like ours.
Absolutely.
That you maybe wouldn't expect,
right.
So.
Yeah. Well deserved. A great lineup of icons this year. And I think it was like 5 icons for year 25, I think was right? Very cool. Well, very excited to see those folks around the festival. Other filmmakers, I'm sure there'll be more filmmakers at the festival, just in case, I should highlight here. If you haven't attended a film festival or a deadCenter in particular, one of my favorite things about it is you go watch the movie. You're actually probably in the room with the people who make the movies. So, Laron, maybe talk with me a little bit more about that, like the opportunities that deadCenter provides to engage the filmmakers.
Yeah, so many of the filmmakers from this year's lineup will be in attendance. So festival goers will get the opportunity to hear from them directly after their respective screenings. And if that's something you're interested in, and you're able and you have pressing questions you want to ask, some of these people, some of the great movies that you watch, you'll get that opportunity, definitely have a better chance of doing it the more movies that you see. And some of the local ones that are going to be here, Russ Kirkpatrick from Tulsa, Klein Haley, and of course Ryan Belgart for another Jurassic Games movie.
It's back for the sequel.
Back for the
dinos are back.
Yeah, and they're back in big ways. We're also getting another one of those this summer. For more theatrical releases.
Synergy. So. deadCenter also very known for throwing some great parties. Laron, any in particular that attendees should bookmark?
Yes, always. It wouldn't be deadCenter if it wasn't for the parties. Yes, that is, for some people, that is the biggest draw. Because even if you like movies, what people love more than movies who make movies is talking about movies. And you and I know this podcast in general, this is all about thoughtful conversations about movies. So you get to scratch that itch, if you will. And rub shoulders with people, like-minded creatives and such. So we have some of the ones to highlight here. Our opening night party is going to be at Sailor and Dock on Wednesday at 7 p.m.
That's a new one. Okay.
Yeah, a new venue that I don't think we've used in previous years. One that one of our programmers, it's kind of an underground tradition. Cookies at Cookies. Mm-hmm. Cam Rojas, one of our features programmers, she always brings, for the first group of people, they get to indulge in some cookies while being at the local dive bar, Cookies karaoke bar, which is a fun time if you like letting loose. Yes. And just kind of having a drink, having some treats. And then if you're brave, I'm not, you get up there and sing some of your favorite karaoke songs.
I'm sure if we get you a couple drinks, then you'll be okay.
My friends have told me this my entire life, and they have yet to do it. I've never been drunk enough to get up there and embarrass myself in front of a microphone singing, which is weird because I'm told I have a good singing voice by virtually anyone who's caught me in the show.
You're probably like the podcast. You're like, I've never podcasted before, and you show up and you're just like a natural talent. Probably with singing too.
It's like, why don't you have a record deal? It's like, because it terrifies.
Well, hey, we should also note Cookies featured. It's been featured in a couple films that have been shot here in Oklahoma. So it is not only a great place to party, it is there's some little bit of Oklahoma film history there. So good, very cool spot. I know that there are a lot of things to consider when building a schedule, a lot of movies to choose from, a lot of logistics to coordinate. And then, Laron, speaking a little more to your experience as a programmer, you and the team have worked very hard to sort of program, and what that means is not only are you just picking movies, you're really not even just picking movies you like or you think are good. You're trying to pick movies that you find themes that sort of connect a lot of the films together to kind of help it fit into like a cohesive film festival. So maybe you could share with me, like, what are some common themes or ideas that kind of like appeared as you and the team were going through all the films submitted this year?
Yeah, I feel like that is kind of if there was a thing to differentiate our festival from other festivals, it would be the overemphasis that we have on, emphasizing themes and making sure that they're clear and cohesive to everyone that's coming. And that takes a lot of legwork. But the overarching theme this year at the festival, with it being our 25th year, is reflection. And, as we're celebrating the 25th year, there is this constant through line throughout the festival about kind of looking back, honoring the past, and kind of accepting the paths that we all find ourselves on. But some of the more like underscored themes that I noticed just in the films themselves, one of them is righteous vengeance.
Oof.
So there's plenty of that. If you're looking to
channel righteous vengeance,
channel your righteous vengeance,
catharsis.
Yeah, exactly, catharsis. I would say healing and forgiveness is one that came up a lot.
That's a great follow-up to righteous vengeance.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one, you can't have one without the other. I mean, you could, but it probably won't be fun.
Won't end well.
It won't end well for you. Yeah, exactly. Also, lots of anxieties about the environment, genocide and colonization. These are themes that have come up a lot in the international films that we've gotten, and obviously very timely with the state of the world right now. And then one that I think is permeated through most of these things, even with the other themes that I just mentioned, is liberation and reconciliation from past traumas through art, and using art as a vessel to kind of channel all of those feelings and finding a way to, constructively deal with those things, and which is what art brings us. And so, there's a running theme of that in a lot of the films. So
very cool. And I just think it's so, there's a craft to building a film festival. And again, it isn't just, hey, we like this movie, let's just throw it in there. It's, hey, here's a bunch of movies that we're seeing, and here's kind of the themes or ideas that we're kind of picking up on. They're kind of coming from the culture, at least coming from the film submitted. And I think you guys do a really great job at programming those in such a way that, you can kind of walk away from the festival saying, man, I got some stuff to think about because of these 10 things I watched or whatever. Now, I do want to hone in on the shorts blocks in particular because, man, there are so many shorts films. And another thing that's always stuck out to me is you guys program these shorts blocks around a specific film. That is not every film festival, by the way. I've been to several film festivals where it's literally just shorts block A, B, C, and you don't really know what you're going to get. So, Laron, tell me a little bit more about the shorts blocks you guys have programmed this year.
I programmed 6 blocks this year. Two that I'd like to emphasize because I like to wave my freak flag, and I feel like if you go to festivals, for me, the driving point is seeing something I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. You can go there for nostalgic feels and things like that. But for me, I want to see something that's going to provoke me in some type of way.
Yeah. And
so I'm always trying to find those creepy, ooky things, that are going to get into people's skin and make people have a real conversation after the films. And so I would highlight the midnight block for me. That's one that I'm
already sold on the name.
I hope, exactly. It doesn't screen at midnight. I should say that so that for people who are deterred by getting out late, but it will screen at night, so, that's one that I would recommend. I wouldn't, to say anything about the individual films, it would ruin the experience. But I'll just say that there's a lot of vibes and a lot of what the fucks, so.
It's always so much fun. Yeah. Guys, I know I'm biased, but hear me out. Laron, he's got very good taste. Not only does he have good taste, he knows how to package this all together for maximum gross out effect or at least thought provoking. You did the Bodies shorts last year.
Oh yeah.
Block, and that was a great time.
Good body horror block. Yeah. There was just so much. I was
effectively grossed out on my side, in the best way possible.
Yeah, so that I would highlight the midnight block and the horror films block, and horror is pretty self-explanatory, but we have some cool ones in there as well.
Awesome. Well, very cool. So I know June is Pride Month. You are the head of Pride programming, so I imagine there are still going to be several LGBTQIA plus films that are woven into the programming, including shorts and features. What are a few of the highlights that listeners should keep their eye on?
So I have 2 blocks this year for the LGBT blocks this year for Pride. One of them is called In My Experience Shorts block. This will be screening on Friday and Saturday at Harkins and at FAM. And the other is the True Colors block, which is screening on Thursday and Sunday, once at Rodeo Cinema Film Row and the other one at Harkins. I would say the In My Experience block is the more heavy, heartfelt, introspective block, kind of looking at the challenges and struggles of the LGBT experience. And the True Colors block is more of the kind of sexy, spicy, romantic, uplifting look at the LGBT experience. I like balancing that. Some people don't want to just get hit over the head or be or leave emotionally wrecked. I do. I'm not one of those people. But for that, I have that for you. Then for people who also just want to have a good time, I have the True Colors block. To highlight individual, maybe a couple individual movies within these blocks, one film that I really loved this year called Newbies was directed by Kimiko Lawrence and Megan Tillman. And this film's about 2 heartbroken Brooklyn youths who kind of find solace in each other on the J train. And it is, as I would describe, a kind of if Barry Jenkins directed Before Sunrise.
Oof.
Has a very jazzy score, very sultry visuals, and really, really excellent performances.
Does it have some Beale Street energy, kind of?
Yeah, very Beale Street energy. It has that kind of it's dreamlike, in many ways. The other one, a far more intense one called Hands, is directed by John Block, is kind of about an interracial couple that reflect on their first sexual experience together. And both of them have very different takeaways from it. One of them is romanticizing this event. The other was very traumatized by it. And so you have 2 separate monologues that are kind of being intercut between each other at the same time. And it creates this very unnerving tension between them because, you have one person who's just so warm and engaging and thinking about how much this meant for them, and the other person who's been haunted by it ever since. And I found that to be such a compelling watch, know. So, yeah, those would be 2 I'd highlight for Pride, yeah.
Got me sold. I got to bookmark those. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you can find the entire deadCenter Film Festival schedule over at deadcenterfilm.org. I'm going to call that a couple more times, but that was mostly for me. Reminder, if you haven't made your schedule yet, there's still plenty of time to do that. Now, Laron, there are several staff members over at the deadCenter Film Festival programming team in particular. Are there any staff picks that members of your team would like to shout out?
Yeah, so 2 of my staff picks for our shorts programming team, including Julia Witcher and Paris Burris. Julia is new to us this year. She was an assistant programmer and then became a shorts programmer this year. She would really like to highlight a block that she curated called Shot on Film, because not only is it one of her favorite blocks, but she thinks it's that building a block around the film material itself is something really unique that we haven't done before. And it's definitely an aesthetic aspect that's really worth highlighting. So if you're one of those people that like to go see those 70 millimeter movies, this
me.
This is an example. You're going to get all these movies are shot on film, so they're going to have that kind of unique texture. And that's going to be screening on Friday and Sunday at Harkins and at FAM. She also wanted to give a shout out to her adult centered animation shorts
Ooh.
for their edgy, mature, and multimedia wonders, as she said. So, and that's going to be screening on Friday and Saturday, both at Harkins.
And what was the block called again?
It's called, it's just animation shorts, but I want to emphasize that they're adult animation shorts, meaning mature subject matter, not for kids. You know, we do have Family Fest animation films that are also for kids, but this one, don't take your kids to.
Well, I'm just making note because my wife would probably be very interested in that blog, so passing that along. Very cool.
Absolutely. And then Paris Burris. Yeah, so Paris, she actually wanted to emphasize, she wanted to give a shout out to a couple of our genre and experimental films because, as she says, let's be honest, these movies don't always get the critical acclaim or recognition that they deserve. And that's why it's especially exciting to feature several standout titles for this year. One of them is a film called The Legend of Fry Roti, Rise of the Dough, directed by...
I'm sold on the title.
Exactly, yeah. Directed by Sabrina Salehi. And this film is about on a girl who, on her 25th birthday, a biracial Navajo woman finds herself needing... more than just dough, with a chaotic bread making battle with her aunties forces her to kind of confront culture, family, and the recipe for belonging. And she really loves this one because she says it's always a thrill to see indigenous comedies on the big screen, and this one brings such a fresh voice, and it has a fantastic mix of physical comedy, heartfelt storytelling, and the kind of chaos that can only happens when multiple cultures collide. One other one that she wanted to mention from the experimental block is a film called I'm Not Going to Meet My Daughter, directed by Sidney Pascal. And this is an experimental short that draws on kind of archival audio from 1990s BCTV news segments that's reflecting on the removal of the director's mother from her home by the state and the reunion between the mother and the grandmother that followed. And this is something that she said was very powerful, visually poetic work that kind of keeps the spirit of experimental film alive. And so those are two that she would like to highlight. And that one is actually going to be screening at Harkins on Friday and Sunday at Rodeo Cinema. So.
All right. Great. Call outs there. Again, I'm writing these down, figuratively speaking, in my brain. Yes. So tons of shorts to choose from. Maybe we could talk about, feature films a little bit. Are there any particularly notable Oklahoma features that folks should be aware of?
Absolutely. One of them is called Bloodstained Ivory. And this is directed by local filmmaker Klein Haley. And it's about an aspiring pianist who's pushing himself to the limit and abandoning all ethics to succeed after a botched recital performance. This one gives very, very intense and strong Whiplash vibes, if you're familiar with that film.
Oof.
Whiplash and I'd say Black Swan vibes. So very edgy, That's a very
interesting combo you just threw out there.
Yeah.
Whiplash, Black Swan. So like I'm thinking frantic, I'm thinking exciting, I'm thinking intense, and then Black Swan, which is more like psychological. So all right, I'm in.
Lots of tension. That's going to be screening on Saturday and Sunday at Harkins and Rodeo Cinema Stockyards.
That was one more time. The title was Bloodstained.
Bloodstained Ivory. Yeah. Another local one I'd highlight is a film called Susan. This is a feature documentary by Tulsa filmmaker Russ Kirkpatrick, and it's chronicling the true story about an Oklahoma woman who is diagnosed with frontal temporal dementia, which is the same affliction that Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams have been dealing with. And basically, this is the innovative thing about this movie is that normally when you have a movie about someone dealing with some kind of diagnosis like that, you're dealing with the people who were the loved ones kind of like recalling the deterioration of that. And then this one, what's interesting is that they managed to chronicle the deterioration of this from a first person perspective from the woman in real time as it was happening to her. And so it creates a very intimate, look at what this does and what it looks like for people who are not familiar or have not been touched by a loved one or a friend or someone that has been afflicted with this. And so I found that very compelling. And
you mentioned it's, this is a condition that, recently because of Bruce Willis has made quite a lot of headlines, and, it's one I don't fully understand myself. So knowing that there's a documentary at deadCenter from an Oklahoma filmmaker, yes. I'm actually really, really intrigued by that to get to learn a little more. It's
a heavy watch, but I will say that it is also heartfelt as well. So, but definitely worth your time.
So that was Susan?
That is Susan, and that screens on Friday and Saturday at FAM and Harkins.
All right. So you've got a couple of notable calls for Oklahoma features there. Are there any? You guys also do a great job at going to film festivals like Sundance or South by Southwest to kind of spot the what's what going on out in the world of larger film festivals. Are there any you're bringing in from outside of Oklahoma that people should be considering?
Yes, there's a movie that we brought from South by Southwest called Assembly. And it is a documentary feature directed by Rashad Newsom and Johnny Simons. And it tells the story of Rashad, one of the directors, who was a queer multimedia artist who embarks on a journey with a global cast of artists, Vogue dancers, and groundbreaking AI technology to transform a historic military facility with a very racist history in New York City into an Afro-futuristic utopia.
Wowza.
That's a whole lot of things in one movie.
You throw a lot of buzzwords in there, but all of them kind of make sense, and I'm really curious about how that's going to work together.
It's utterly fascinating, and there were several moments that are just jaw-dropping in terms of what they create. And so this was an exhibition that I really wish I had been present to go and see in real time, but the fact that it is documented on film for everyone to watch, it'll be compelling, and I think people will really, really enjoy that one. And that's on Saturday and Sunday at Harkins and MOA.
Title one more time?
It's called Assembly, which is also the name of the art piece at large. So,
okay. Very cool. Assembly. Man, check that one out. What else you got, Laron?
This is our opening night film, Reverence, directed by local filmmaker Kyle Kawika Harris.
Out of Exile a couple of years ago,
Out
right?
of Exile, yeah. Definitely him and Adam Hampton, one of our icons, collaborate quite often. And this is about a missing teenager and a distraught father and a local detective in search for answers. And that is on Wednesday night at the Harkins Theater.
All right, man. So many options, ladies and gentlemen. And these are just a few of the titles. We're just calling it out. Peek it to see what maybe if they pique your interest, you can head on over to the deadCenter filmfestival.org website. Once you get your pass, you can start building your schedule. And there are so many more films that we are not able to give time for each one of them, but I think these are a great place to start. Now, Laron, this year they are bringing back the awards ceremony, albeit at a new time. I believe it was a Saturday morning last year. This time it seems like we're moving it to more of the primetime evening slot, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday evening. What can attendees of the awards ceremony expect this year?
Yeah, so we really want the awards ceremony to be a party or an event. You know what I mean? And I think in years past, even though that was always kind of the intention, it always kind of seemed to intersect or conflict with a lot of things in the middle of the day. And so this time we really wanted to give it, as you mentioned, a very premium time slot. And like I said, make it a proper event. And this year it's going to be at the Oklahoma Contemporary, which is also our hub. And this time we're going to have hors d'oeuvres. And for pass holders, we're going to have complimentary drink tickets. And then if it's also open to the public, so we also have an open bar for non-pass holders. And so it's definitely something where anyone can come and watch and celebrate the filmmakers, who are going to be awarded that evening. And so it'll be more of a need to be there than just something else to do, as it hasn't been in previous years. So, yeah.
Very cool. I think what's really neat about the awards ceremony is, I think last year was the first one I'd attended, or at least attended in quite some time. And it was really cool because you kind of get a who's who at the festival all in one room, which is, not because there's a lot of cool people doing a lot of cool stuff all over the festival, and it's hard to keep, run into everyone that you want to run into necessarily. So the award ceremony, I think, gets a lot of people in one place if you're wanting to, rub shoulders with some different folks or catch up with someone you haven't had a chance to see. So
and it's formal enough, but not overly formal.
It's not black tie.
It's not black tie. So just come in, have a drink, and cheer on the filmmakers. But yeah, so this way it's not so stagey. We can definitely make it like worth your while. So
last but not least, Laron, you mentioned this at the top. There are several actually free public screenings and other activities. What are some of those that maybe our listeners should be aware of, especially those who maybe are not able to purchase a pass or a ticket?
Absolutely, yeah. So every year we do try to incorporate things that people can come to, because we understand in this economy it's maybe hard to purchase an expensive ticket to the festival, but we also want people to be aware and have a good time and mingle with people at the festival. So I mentioned the award ceremony is free to the public, so that is also that's happening. We also have a series of panels that are going to be happening that are free to the public from Thursday to Saturday. Various things we have a David Lynch panel. We have a panel celebrating our DC icons, a panel about breaking into the industry, special effects in film, music in film, the actor experience. There's a lot of different things that will appeal to people for different reasons. So we highly encourage people to come out and support those and get some insight from some industry professionals. We have an outdoor screening of a documentary film called Incomparable, which is a doc about the Oklahoma City Thunder team here. As well, it's working in tandem with an indigenous documentary directed by Sunrise Tipicani.
Director of programming.
Who's our director of programming, yep. Yeah. About Edgar Heap of Birds. And it's a story about family and culture and native culture. And that's going to be screening on Saturday at 9 p.m. at the Oklahoma Contemporary. And then we have a feature called Connecting the Dots, directed by local filmmaker Tanner Ray. And this is a kind of a documentary about a high school graduate who kind of escapes from his small farming town to go on a cross-country road trip. This is a community screening that'll be screening twice on Saturday and Sunday, also at the Oklahoma Contemporary. And finally, we have a documentary called 25, A Brief History of deadCenter, which is going to be featuring a lot of our staff members, cool. kind of digesting, again, this theme of reflection that I mentioned at the top, just dealing with, the origin and the different evolution of deadCenter as a festival, which I think is worth seeing, especially if you're curious about that. And that's on Saturday and Sunday also at the Oklahoma Contemporary. Yeah.
Oklahoma Contemporary, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're all going to be hanging out there quite a bit. I hope to see you there. So, Laron, just, I think last question as we start to wrap up, and this is mostly for people who maybe haven't done a lot of film festivals, particularly film festivals in the summertime. As a seasoned film goer, what suggestions or tip would you provide people when they're building their schedule?
I always say pick more than one thing. I will say, we're not Sundance or South by Southwest yet. But even still, it's always good to have a variety of options of things to go to, and we intentionally stagger things so that there are other things to do, or so people can fall back on something else. And we try to make everything, again, appealing to a broad audience. So I'd always say, build your blocks or build your schedule per day, but then also have an alternative. And then my suggestion is always to go to at least one party, at least one of our premium parties, and to also meet someone new, strike up a conversation. This whole thing is about, community and networking. And obviously, check out and support as many films as you can.
Awesome. I think those are great recommends. Meet new people. Catch up with old friends maybe you haven't seen if you're returning to the festival. And then see all the new faces. There's so many cool people that come through for this festival too. Filmmakers. In fact, actually, I want to give a shout out. This is actually very important. I failed to throw you this question earlier, Laron, but deadCenter Film Festival is actually an Oscar qualifying film festival. In fact, at last year's Oscars, a few films that played at the festival were in the Oscars ceremony. And I think, in fact, there was a winner that screened here, right?
Yeah, it was 5 films actually that kind of crossed paths with our festival and then went on to be nominated the following year at the Oscars. And one of them won. I'm Not Your Robot won, I believe, best live action short. So that's a huge one that we're very proud of, because you put that front and center that we're an Oscar qualifying festival, and we don't want it to just be a buzzword. We want it to genuinely mean that you have an opportunity here, you know what I mean, to actually, see yourself, advance to something of that prestigious through like a festival like ours. So we're very happy about that. Yeah.
And it also speaks to the quality of the films you guys are bringing in.
Absolutely,
too. For the filmmakers, it's a platform for people to come submit their films and get it screened for an audience that could be on their road to the Oscar ceremony. But also it speaks to you guys are bringing in films of that caliber that could be named one of the best films of the year by the Academy Awards.
Lily Gladstone was one a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, big one.
Lily Gladstone was here with Fancy Dance a few years ago.
And Erica Tremblay.
Erica Tremblay, the director of Fancy Dance. That was surprising because we did a whole very long form interview with her just ahead of her Oscar campaign, and obviously she's been known in independent circles, but now she's kind of launched into A-list mainstream, and so that was something that happened, and that was just very casual. I was kind of doing my Q&A during one of my blocks that year, and she was in the audience, and I kind of got a little starstruck because I knew her before, all the way back from Kelly Reichardt, movies, so just seeing a celebrity,
you knew who she was before Killers of the Flower Moon.
Exactly, and so just seeing a celebrity in front of me while I'm doing this was like, oh man, it just puts in perspective the growth and the kind of spotlight that the festival is kind of put on the industry. So yeah,
we've had last year Sterling Harjo made an appearance. Obviously co-creator of Reservation Dogs, the creator of The Lowdown. I'm not saying they're going to be there, but I'm just saying these are the kind you are bringing in top industry talent into this festival. So, you might spot some around if you decide to turn up. You never know who you're going to see at the parties. All right. Well, Laron, this has been such a great time chatting. Super excited about the festival. It all kicks off on Wednesday of this week. Listeners can head to deadcenterfilm.org to get their passes, or if they are not able to purchase a pass for one reason or another, can still buy individual tickets. Anything else you'd like to add about the festival before we close out today?
One last thing that I didn't mention earlier that I definitely want people to know about is our pajama party, which is happening at the Aloft Hotel on the 6th floor. It's an annual tradition of ours to always have a film screening for people in a very casual setting. There'll obviously be drink tickets, but this year's movie, it's going to be on Friday the 13th. We're showing a Friday the 13th movie.
Hold on, important question for you.
Yes.
Which one?
Well, it is.
I'm not going to judge you. I'm definitely judging.
Yeah, it's going to be Jason X, and
yes!
So
that's one of the good ones.
We decided to find a punchy one that would,
just released in 4K, baby.
Absolutely. The original one we thought would be a little too slow for a party vibe. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, if I'm doing a pajama party, Jason X is one of 3 I would pick.
We wanted to pick a punchy, fun one, and we really want to lean into the Friday the 13th theme. So yeah, Jason X at the Aloft Hotel on Friday the 13th at 10 p.m.
What a synergy. Friday the deadCenter playing a Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. It's a beautiful thing. Well, listeners, there you have it. deadCenter's 25th Film Festival. Again, June 11th to the 15th. Tickets are on sale now at deadcenterfilm.org. I'm going to be around. I know I mentioned we have several contributors and regular correspondents here on the Cinematic Schematic. Daniel Bokemper, Joe Light, Christopher Schultz, Dalton Stewart, all the good trash people. A lot of people who have made their way through the show are all going to be there. So if you want to hang out with any of us or catch a great movie or meet some other cool people maybe you don't know, deadCenter is the place to be. Laron, hey, thanks so much for joining us on this nice rainy Saturday morning to talk all things deadCenter and movies.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for people to attend this year. We can't wait to see everybody and celebrate all the movies.
Excellent. Listeners, again, keep your eyes on the cinematropolis.com for more write-ups from our team over at, that's Dan Bokemper, Joe Light, Christopher Schultz. throughout the festival, in the week following the festival. And also, we'll be doing a deadCenter recap when it's all said and done that you can expect to see here in the next week or so. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great deadCenter, and we'll see you at the festival.